conversation, and then that would have worked out fine. Hey, we are live. So, welcome to episode 229 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. Uh-oh, you hear an aid go out?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. In the house tonight.
I better not do that because it might happen. So
that's perfectly okay. It's all good. It's all good. We got Baron Von D out there in Alaska from the YouTube channel Exorcist Reviews, and I've had him on before, and I think we had a pretty good time, pretty good conversation, just chatting it up. I think we were talking about the year in possession movies. Because last year, that seemed to be, all people were talking about, whether it was Evil Dead or the Pope's Exorcist or, whatever else happened. I think The Nun 2 last year. Big success. So welcome back, and thanks for coming to a hangout and shoot the breeze a little bit.
Oh, yeah. That should be fun, right? You got anybody else coming on?
No, it's just you and I. So that works out okay for me. Because I put the link to your channel in the Twitter post for it, but I'm going to put the link to your channel in the YouTube description. Tell people what if they haven't heard of you before, what your channel specializes in, which is why I wanted you for this particular conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, my channel started about 3 years ago. It focuses on The Exorcist. I'm trying to break away from the original film. I'm still dwelling on the original film. As soon as I get my miniseries video out there, I'm probably going to go on to the sequels and the knockoffs and try to focus more on merchandise and my recommendations when it comes to books and any other merch. Like this one right here. I really like this.
Oh, okay.
It's the Pazuzu. It's a ceramic Pazuzu mug.
Okay.
So I use this for when I'm doing lives and drink my coffee out of it. So I got a whole unboxing if anybody's interested on my channel. I even give the address and what my thoughts are and whatnot. And hopefully I'm looking to get a bust of Reagan from I think it's Phantom Studios.
Okay.
And it's going to be a while, so I'm going to be doing an unboxing of that.
Okay.
And we're going to see how that looks on camera.
So now you're talking about the sequels and then the knockoffs. What do you mean by the knockoffs? Do you mean
Well, you like a lot of the films that came out right after. You even had a few that was it's almost like, ever since, let's say, Rosemary's Baby, there have been a lot of the devil worship films, and it's almost like The Exorcist kind of caught that wave, and kind of took a little bit a different direction, maybe a different tangent. I don't know whether it was, say, if Blatty had any intention of doing that, or it had any influence over him. I mean, the book basically came out in 1971, but I think when he was writing it, here he is stuck in a cabin or two. We'll just say two, because he did move from one cabin to another, just for that that isolation and writing this book and trying to get it out there. Whether say like Rosemary's Baby or this strange kick on the whole Satan worship and whatnot that was going out there, because it's like just looking back on some of these films, like The Brotherhood of Satan came out in I think 1971. And it's just kind of like catching that wave. But then once The Exorcist came out, you'd see a lot of these other ones kind of come across, like the Turkish Exorcist. I think they call it Shaitan,
right?
Which is basically almost a shot for shot of The Exorcist, and it came out in 1974. So I kind of got the impression that whoever was might have been there on set or something, just for him to have everything so quickly, or they had seen a copy and then just kind of replicated it. Then you also had the blaxploitation film Abby, which was supposedly too close to what was going on with The Exorcist, and they tried to get that, shut down. What was the other one? Behind the Door. It's Behind the Door is its own thing, but it did catch some flack from Warner Brothers. There are a few other ones. The Devil's Female. I've just got a whole bunch of them I want to put out there and talk about.
That would be cool. You could make the argument, I would make the argument that, Polanski's film is equal to Friedkin's, perhaps even better. It's a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's colder though, somehow. And there certainly is less hope. There's no one coming to save Mia Farrow in that movie. It's just cold cruelty. And done without any special effects or, things flying all over the place. It's just acting. Cassavetes is just the ultimate son of a bitch in that movie. I mean, he's just, you watch it, you're just like, holy shit, like you can feel the doom coming through the film. It's not a film that I watch very often, but we covered it recently. I guess maybe within the past 6 months or something like that. I think we covered Witchcraft for our Halloween theme for October. So about 8 months ago. And I think I've only seen it maybe 2 or 3 times because I have this thing where the movies that I really like, I don't watch very often because I never want to have them become familiar to me. But that one, maybe 2 or 3 times, and it may be another 3 to 5 years before I watch it again because it's just that good. Maybe some people watch their favorites all the time. The ones that are my favorites, rarely, if ever. But it's good that you're touching on all that stuff. And I've always wanted to talk to you about Dominion at some point, the Schrader flick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to kind of go back and look at both of those.
I traveled all the way the day of that release because, of course, we got Exorcist: The Beginning, which sucked. But I remember later they dropped Schrader's film after Rennie Harlan dropped his POS, and they only dropped it in New York and Los Angeles, and I ended up taking like a 3-hour bus because I live here in South Jersey all the way up to New York just to catch it the day that it dropped. I have mixed feelings about it. It was better than Rennie Harlan's, and I understood what Schrader was trying to do. It was an interesting concept, especially when it came to the idea of guilt. What if you could be trapped by your own guilt? What if, someone offered you the false promise of, taking that guilt away? I thought it was an interesting film, and, I still recommend it to people, just understanding that it's not, some 5-star film, but it was better than that over-the-top thing that Harlan did. So when you drop those, I'll be interested to
You'll
watch
be there.
I'll definitely be interested to watch it, most definitely. So
we could probably get talking on that too. I could probably have you on the show if you want to on my channel, and we could talk about those too.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Beginning since I saw it in the theater, and I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater. But I'd be willing to watch it again, to screen it, and discuss it out to a compare and contrast or something like that. Yeah, let me know. Now, the reason I brought you on is because what we were talking about last year has carried over into this year. And is it just me, or is religious horror peaking? It just seems like religious horror is what's on top nowadays. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's kind of odd.
Have I got it wrong? Have I got it wrong?
I think it's kind of odd that here we got a film, a Russell Crowe film, The Exorcism, which was, I think, what was it titled before? The Georgetown Project. I can't remember the alternate title. Here it was made, and it was done, 2019, and now it's coming out this month.
Oh, was it really? I had no idea. Okay.
Well, I just think it's weird because you got Russell Crowe in it, right? And we just seen him in the Pope's Exorcist, and then
Yeah.
supposedly there's supposed to be another one coming out. You know, another Pope's Exorcist, a sequel to that. So it's kind of keeping Russell Crowe busy in a way. But he had already done the 2019's Exorcism. I don't know whether they changed the title once it got picked up again, or picked up this year or last year, or whenever they were going to do it. But I remember reading articles on when they were filming it. And then, you know, I can't remember who was directing it or created this thing, whether it was like he wrote it and directed it. I'd have to go back and look. It was supposed to have been Jason Miller's son.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
And it's funny that the character, the character's name is Anthony Miller.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm trying to put you know, I think it's a little bit too close in between the Pope's Exorcist, because I'm looking at Russell Crowe. I'm still looking at, you know, I'm thinking Pope's Exorcist, and now he's got this big head of hair, you know, in the film, the Exorcism film. But you know, Anthony Miller, Jason Miller's name was John Anthony Miller Jr.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, how much influence is this going to have on this film? You know, all the stuff that was happening behind the scenes for The Exorcist. I'm sure they're probably going to be adding stuff to it.
I'm curious about it. It's interesting that, you know, Russell Crowe, who is clearly an A-list actor in Hollywood, is branching off into horror. You know, not something he's known for, you know, known for Gladiator, known for a film I thought was 10 times better, Master and Commander, you know, a million other things. He's worked with just about everybody, and now is, you know, working on horror. So, I mean, that's only a few weeks out. I'll be there in the theaters to see it.
Yeah, I probably will too. Hopefully it's not going to be a cringe fest. Because just watching the trailer where they show the, I guess the daughter's coming on the set, you know, going on the set because she's concerned about her dad. And they're saging the set. They're not blessing the set, you know, like how they, you know, with a priest or anything, they're saging it.
Yeah.
So it's got me curious. What's funny is that's what they were doing with Believer. If you've ever paid attention to, say, Stephanie, I think her last name's Elaine.
Yes.
She was kind of bragging about that. Oh, we'd have this spiritual worker come in and sage the set every day.
You had
not bless it, not religiously bless it, but sage it.
You had a multicultural sort of thing going on with Green's film, and it was an awful thing to watch.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I'm afraid of for, say, the Flanagan film. You know, he's a great director. I love one of my favorite things he's done is that Haunting of Hill House. I've got a copy of that. I had to get a copy of that. You know, question is his wife going to be in this one too? Since
she's in everything else.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like having Rob Zombie and his wife. You know?
Well, it's not quite that bad. It's not that bad. She can actually act. Katie Siegel can actually act, and I don't believe that Mike Flanagan is going to. Well, let's just say I have confidence. I have close to complete confidence that Mike Flanagan is going to handle this in a competent way. He's probably going to make it something that's good to fucking great. So I'm very excited about that. I haven't seen him go wrong yet.
Well, let's hope in this day and age where it's filmed by committee that he's got some kind of pull.
I would imagine after the
seat, and
has
some creative allowance.
I would imagine after the catastrophe that was Believer, to bring him in, there would be no purpose to bring him in. If not, I mean, unless he just vacates and says, you know, we go the route of production hell, and you know, I'm not doing this, and he just walks away.
Yeah.
But I imagine Blum and the rest of the gang are just going to give him carte blanche, and just let him cook. I hope we see the usual regulars. I'd love to see Henry Thomas, unless he goes, completely A-list, which really isn't his way. It tends to be he has his standby people, and it hasn't failed yet. I love Hill House. I got a copy of that. Copy of
Do you
Blind
recall
Manor.
who was producing that? Should be on the box, right? Mine's upstairs. I can't get it this moment. Everything in here is Exorcist, so pretty much.
No, it doesn't say right here on the back. Or if it does, it's so small that I can't.
Because it goes right back to, again, what I was saying about the influence. Who's really got the last say? Who's going to turn around and are they going to pass this to sensitivity readers and say, okay, we can't put that in there?
I don't think
we need
so,
this.
because
we need to check these boxes. That's what I'm afraid of.
Here's the thing. I think that is coming to an end. I think the wave is breaking when you start to see other. Let's talk about for a second Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney making that movie Immaculate. Sydney Sweeney like bringing sex and like sexy back into Hollywood again. Was not a thing you would have seen even 3 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, let alone 2016. These sorts of things. I think with the struggles that Hollywood has had with the strikes and the whatever, people boycotting this, that, or whatever, I think what it's started to swing back in the other direction of is making money and a profit. And I believe that, I've been going to the movies pretty regularly. And when people say the movies suck, I've probably seen about 15 different movies so far this year. With the exception of the stupid King Kong Godzilla movie, I haven't been disappointed by anything, really. There are still, and I'm not seeing a lot of, boxes being checked in the films or this, that, and the other. I'm seeing good stuff. I have a good feeling about what Flanagan is going to do, and I think the sort of woke brigade outside of certain, like last minute holdouts who are just going to go down with the ship and maybe take the ship down with them. If you're talking about maybe about Star Wars or something like that, they're gonna ride it like. Yeah, they're going to ride it right to the center of the earth. That they're not bailing. They're not going to bail. They're not going to say uncle until.
So be glad that Disney doesn't have the Exorcist franchise.
No, and it's funny how this has happened, and I guess antitrust just doesn't exist anymore. Because you're seeing so few things or companies own so much nowadays, and it just. Nobody seems to blink and nobody seems to notice, and it's killed the creativity. Disney has pretty much killed the creativity of everything. But like I said, I'm noticing these smaller, more independent films. Sydney Sweeney. Now we'll see. What happens with Russell Crowe from 2019 may not be something that we would see. Being made.
Well, it is
today.
2019. If it was a little bit. If it had been made earlier, we might not see a lot of that stuff. But just the one thing that got me was when they were talking about saging the set. And so that was like, oh, they're going to go that route. So no telling what they're going to do. Just going by the trailer. And it's funny because, one of the things I spotted in the trailer was like the dummy head. It almost looked like something from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I only saw the trailer once. I haven't really, and I just sort of glanced it over, but
listen to what's being said.
I didn't know about the 2019 thing though. That gives me a little bit of pause because that's a different. You can
actually look up the Exorcism film, or just type in like on Google, and it'll take you back to like 2019 on like locations, where they were filmed, and they were talking about it, but they didn't really get into the film, like the storyline. But it's kind of got me curious, and so we won't. Well, we got what, the 21st? It comes out on the 21st, I think.
Yeah, something along.
So maybe we should regroup after that.
Yeah. What did you think? This kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How
much of this was how much was just grabbing the kite string and running with it? I don't know whether he's going to try to touch in on Jason Miller's alcoholism or having problems like that. Probably not. It's probably just going to be a straight up
it doesn't look that complicated.
Mental issue, something, or
it doesn't look
crisis of faith or something.
Yeah.
But
well, that brings me to an interesting thought, and I've said this before. What I'm seeing in the trend of religious horror, whether it be, and we haven't seen this movie yet, but whether it's this or Immaculate or something else, is just the imbalance that you see, in that it seems like the good has kind of been removed from these films. It's just increasingly evil, where the protagonist, in order to survive, and I think they lose something from this. They got it a little bit in the first Omen. I have to watch it again. It's on Hulu now, so maybe I'll watch it soon. I have Hulu. But it's just the protagonist has to become increasingly feral. There's nothing to survive, and so there's nothing that balances out the evil, like we're talking about in Blatty's film. It's almost closer to Rosemary's Baby, where there's just, there's no hope. But here, the protagonist, Sydney Sweeney, or whoever, the nun, in, the first Omen or something like that, just has to get bloodier and bloodier and bloodier, and, has to do some pretty awful things in order to survive. And I feel like that takes something away from what the best things in religious horror are, if that makes any sense.
So you're saying that the keys were jangling in front of the camera are a little bit bigger?
What do you mean?
It's like, in order to keep their attention, we got to get more gorier.
Yeah, it's just gorier and more cruel, and yeah, it seems like it seems imbalanced. Like there should be something to level out the evil, and there just isn't. And I don't know whether that's because we're living in a more secular time, where there's hesitancy to put some force of good, whether it be, I suppose it would be the obvious choice in America would be the church. And so obviously, today and, today's Hollywood, that's not a popular thing. And so, Sydney Sweeney is just completely blood-soaked by the end of the movie, and just, covered in, and she's bashing things with rocks. And it was kind of similar in the first Omen. I don't know. It just seemed like something was missing when I'm watching this. I'm like, where's the good? It's just, especially in religious horror. Like, if it's religious horror, the institutions nowadays, at least especially in those two films, are the villains.
And they're corrupt.
They're corrupt. They're psychotic. They're attempting to bring about, the end of the world. It's just, and I'm like, where's the kindly Father Merrin? Who thrusts himself into the void to, defend a perfect stranger, this little girl. Where's the Father Karras?
It's funny because you mentioned Merrin. What was it? There was that interview that Green did on Joe Bob Briggs, where he said, "Don't expect Merrin to show up at the 11th hour."
No, he certainly did not. And I don't know if we've talked since Believer came out. I don't remember if our first conversation was before or after that dropped. But I mean, they kind of shit on it. They shit on those characters with Ellen Burstyn saying the patriarchy kept her out of the room during the exorcism. The Catholic priest that they had in that movie was completely ineffectual or cowardly, or the church was portrayed that way because, they weren't allowed to perform the exorcism. Shows up and just immediately taken off the board. It becomes this big, celebration of bald black women or something like that, performing the exorcism, with a couple of other, characters that aren't developed at all. And I'm just like, what is this? What exactly is this? And I've thought that, and, whether it was Immaculate or the first Omen, and each movie had varying levels of quality. I'd probably say the first Omen was the best of, the more recent films. But yeah, it just feels out of whack. And that's probably why I enjoyed, even though it was ridiculous, the Pope's Exorcist. You had a character like Father Amorth, even though, Russell Crowe's, he's playing it kind of hammy. The movie itself is kind of hammy. At least you had some sense of, equilibrium there.
Surprised they didn't make it like the Indiana Jones and the Pope's Exorcist. Something like that, because it turned into more like an adventure, and you knew that it was going toward that direction where, they're going to try to work into a sequel. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But if it does, then they got something to go with, For like the first Omen, the only thing I really hold against it is that the retcon. Because I think I know what they're going to do. What's that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They retconned Father Brennan's backstory. They changed up the whole Born of a Jackal thing.
Yeah.
Kind of giving a fourth leg to a three-legged table. And my impression is they're going to try to run a tangent to the existing the Omen trilogy that happened, excluding the fourth film, all the way through the final conflict. Maybe find some weird spots where there's some kind of weird interaction, because I don't know what they're going to do. You wouldn't think anybody would go out to make a movie just to paint themselves in a corner and try to connect themselves to an existing trilogy. You're not going to make money that way.
I'll be honest, because I don't think. I believe that we think this way, and
and that is Disney. That's all. What's her name? The director could talk about. I pitched this to Disney. She didn't say 20th century. She said Disney, and Disney loved it. And I think they're going to try to run with it, wring it out like they do with Star Wars. See what they can squeeze out of that rag.
Are we looking at it through rose-colored glasses? I mean, 20th century really isn't. I mean, so I'm saying if you're younger, we remember it a certain way, and I prefer it a certain way. I say all the time, sort of half-jokingly, here's to yesterday. That's kind of a toast that I make, a lot of the times. But, younger people may not, have that association that, we are familiar with and sort of lament in terms of its passing. But I mean, I'll be honest, I enjoyed the first Omen. I'm not necessarily a fan of the original trilogy. I thought it was hammy. It's an interesting concept, but I mean, I thought that was part of Donner's film. The second one was kind of ridiculous. You just watch him answer a bunch of questions in school or making somebody fall through the ice, if I remember it correctly. It had a good cast, William Holden, Gregory Peck, Lee Remick, but they weren't the greatest films. So for me, if someone were to sort of spruce up, shall we say, and redo the original trilogy, if it's as good as the first one, by that I mean the first Omen, I wouldn't necessarily be disappointed by that. I thought they left an opening for a halfway decent setup here, or franchise. And I'm not a fan of franchises, but I was just like, you know what, this could be okay, and they could do better than they did 40 years ago, because that's what it was. It was 40 years ago.
Sure, but I think the problem I have, just in the retcon was, okay, you're trying to connect it directly to the 1976 film. It's not working because you already retconned its backstories.
But are
If
they?
you were to, if
Are
you were
they
to
just?
not
Are
show
they?
Gregory Peck in it and just had some other actor, you know, it's like, okay, you got to find this guy, you know, toward the end, they should have been fine because it'd be just a retelling. It's like remaking the original Exorcist and instead do your sequels off that. Keep off the original.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it again because I didn't get that impression when I saw it. I don't
Because like
remember.
in the back of my head, I'm thinking about, okay, here if you watch the 1976, you got Father Brennan saying he was there when the birth happened and he wasn't. In the first Omen, I think he was knocked out in the car.
Okay.
And there was no references to when they were like when they go back to Father Brennan after he gets killed, back to his room. There's all these notes about like when the shooting star or the comet was passing. There's no mention
Right.
of that. It's kind of like in this one, it's almost trial and error.
I didn't feel that way about it. I didn't feel
I did
the
because I'm thinking about it in the back. If you're going to try to connect something to it,
I,
it's almost like that whole situation with that Furiosa movie where they're calling it a
okay.
Mad Max saga.
Right.
And you're expecting
He's in it for 10 seconds. He's in it for 10
Yeah,
seconds.
if you can say that was him, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like follows that. If you're going to try to connect an existing franchise, at least follow its rules.
See, I don't feel that way. I
Follow
don't
the
feel
canon
that way at all.
because
No,
it doesn't fit. You can't make it fit. It's like, how did I
I don't
describe
think
it
they were
before?
trying. I don't think
It's
they
a
were trying
metric
to make.
nut trying to fasten to a standard bolt.
I don't feel that they were trying to make it fit. I think they're doing a reworking of it.
Well, good luck bringing Gregory Peck back.
Huh? Yeah. Lee Remick. Yeah, that's not going to work either. But yeah, I didn't feel that way at all about it. And like I said, because I don't hold those films in any great esteem. I think one of the first videos I did was, kind of what a shitty movie it is. I actually preferred the 2006 version because I just said that, a small child can't be the Antichrist. Like, it's just not scary. It's not scary. The story is interesting. It's an interesting story with the jackal and this, that, and the other. I much preferred. I thought it was better casting or more. Perhaps it's even that my opinion of child performances has changed since I started, doing these for the channel. But I just thought that kid was scarier. I thought that the dream sequences lent something to it in that you saw a bit more about what, maybe Julia Stiles was, subconsciously, trying to process there's something wrong with this boy. The one that Liev Schreiber has, where just briefly they see who he actually is. I thought that lent a lot to your understanding of what made this boy so terrifying, because otherwise it's just a 6-year-old kid who stares at you. So by adding this context now in a sort of a prequel kind of way, if they add on to those things from 2006, even if it's, a general outline of the first movie, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that. I don't need them to, match what happened in 1976 or say, well, this doesn't fit in there, because I didn't have a great feeling about it. If anything, I would want them to do something completely different, or different but the same, if that makes any sense, from Donner's film, because
well,
I'm not a
they
fan.
tried. I mean, you're putting it out in 1971, for the first Omen, because the other movie was 1976. So it's kind of like, okay, we're trying to, fit this into the timeline somehow. But it doesn't really line up. I mean, they could have just took it and just made it modern day if they wanted to.
You could have. That's what they did, I think, with the 2006 version. They turned it into, that was the time that happened. But Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I didn't have a bad feeling about it. It didn't bother me at all. I'll watch it again, but because I don't have any, great love for the first one, it wouldn't make a difference. It didn't make a difference to me at all. Hold on a second. We got some comments here. We got Slasher Fred. Thanks for stopping by, man. And he says Disney did once make a horror movie that was really creepy called The Watcher in the Woods.
Yeah, they had a dark time, I think. Didn't Watcher the Woods come out around the same time Something Wicked This Way comes? That's a good one.
Oh, geez. That's what, late 70s?
Yeah, something like that.
Something Wicked, yeah.
They had that weird era happen where it's like you see a lot of dark stuff and coming out, like Watcher in the Woods. It's those things you didn't expect. Child of Glass was good too.
Okay, all right.
It was a simple story, but it was around that time.
Simple works, man. You don't always need to make something very complicated. Simple and easy to understand. Watching the original movie is amazing at how suspenseful it was, and also because it begins with talking about the Exorcist. Archaeological dig, and it makes you wonder that something sinister has been unearthed. Or did you dig that out yourself there, Baron?
Yeah, I had to get the dirt out.
Your little brush, little archaeological brush out.
That's a big. It's like, wow, how can you miss that?
Yeah, right. And that's quite a mug you've got there. Omen 4 makes me think of Orphan, where instead of having this woman who poses as a young girl in order con families, you have the daughter of the original bad guy. I liked the casting of the third one. I saw the third movie in a drive-in. I don't think I saw the first movie I ever saw. I think I was 12. It was The Empire Strikes Back in an indoor theater. Everything before that was in a drive-in. It was 2 miles down the road from where we lived back then. So I remember seeing the third Omen and the second Omen in a drive-in. Sam Neill, great casting. Sam Neill, not the best, not a great story. Everybody's just trying to stab him with those knives at this point. There was actually a A&E series. Did you see it called Damien?
No, I kind of skipped it.
It had a lot of potential, but they just, it was, there's slow burns, and then there's things where just, things don't happen. And it was kind of falling into the latter of the two. So
I'm definitely expecting another film coming on after the first Omen. I mean,
it made a lot of money.
All that in, you don't just stop there.
No,
and you got a twin.
It got good reviews, and it made money. Because the thing about these other movies is that that we're talking about here today is that they're very cheaply made. They're very inexpensive. They what is it? I think Sydney Sweeney's, less than 10 million. Late Night with the Devil,
like own production company too.
Yeah, and she had been pushing for that movie she had been wanting to make this movie for a long time. I think she actually ended up putting forward either all of the money or a lot of it just to get that done. Again, The Exorcist, the first Omen, another film, very inexpensive. I think under 10 million. Late Night with the Devil. That was another big money-making hit, but that was like less than $2 million. What did you think of that? Was that...
I still haven't seen that yet.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear that.
I've been wanting to see it.
Hold on.
But it just hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so the first Omen made $50 million, $20 million domestic, $30 million overseas. I assume that's part of the Chinese market. $50 million for a horror movie, that's probably successful. Let me see what the budget was. Omen budget.
Yeah, you're gonna have to double it too.
30 million. So the budget was 30 million. Disappointing box office opening, 8 million in earnings. The prequel needs to make over 60 million to break even. Certified fresh, 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, but yeah, I guess it didn't make money. It didn't turn a profit. I thought that it had.
How did it do on Metacritic?
I don't know.
What did you say Rotten Tomatoes gave it?
78%.
Okay. Let's see what Metacritic says.
3 out of 5.
Disney has on Rotten Tomatoes.
65%. User score, generally favorable. Metascore was 65. User score was 6.7. So that's not bad. But, you know, I noticed that about a lot of films nowadays. You just brought up Furiosa. Everybody loved Furiosa. Nobody went to see it. Everybody that saw it went to see it. Fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It was like 90% or something like that. The fan score was matching absolutely. And yet, for some reason, nobody went to see it.
Well, hopefully it kind of picks up ground when it hits streaming.
I hope so, because I thought it was a good film. Was it as good as Fury Road? No. Was it a damn solid George Miller action flick? Yeah. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I thought Hemsworth stole the movie. You got to see him, you know, playing a quirky but brutal kind of character. I loved the guy who played Praetorian Jack. Lots of interesting characters in there. Get to see some of the guys, from Fury Road, years later, looking a little bit older, but, there's not too much you can do about that. I thought it was a solid film. I sat down, had my popcorn front row, I sit in the middle. So I sit in the middle. And that was a damn good movie. I swore it was going to make money. Nobody went to see it. Same with this. Looks like people are rating 78%, 70%, but people aren't just going to see it.
How many people were in your theater?
Next to no one, but it was like Thursday at like noon. like I went Thursday at noon. Sometimes I have more time than others. Than some others. The last time, I was talking to the guy at my local cinema house, because I have a multiplex about 15 minutes from me, and he was like, "Yeah, it's bad time. People just don't. I don't know if it's the economy or ticket prices or."
Just waiting for streaming.
3 weeks later it comes to streaming. It's already been pulled. 2 weeks now. It's gone. I think this is the last week for Furiosa.
Here, think about this. Think about this. When Star Wars was out there, right? And VHS was just kind of starting out.
Yeah.
And think about how long it took to get Star Wars on VHS. Or even Raiders of the Lost Ark. You didn't have to wait like a few weeks. It might take a couple years, And then it's like there was like films like, say, E.T., where Spielberg said he was never going to release it on
home video,
on VHS or anything like that. You'd have to go to the theater and see it. Maybe they should start doing that. You want to see this film, you better go see it.
I don't see the problem. Especially in light of the fact that we're just coming off a strike, so there are a limited number of releases to begin with, that you wouldn't prolong some of these stays in the theaters. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But unfortunately, and then, you've got the culture wars in Hollywood now, too. And we were talking about that a little bit with Believer, the multicultural exorcism, this, that, and the other. But you've got a lot of these mega channels that are telling people to stay home. And followers being followers, they kind of do what they're told. So they don't make up their own minds. And I have this conversation on Twitter with people. I'm like, look, I'm not telling you that something is good. I'm just saying decide for yourself, man. Like I shouldn't have to explain this to people. But they're like, well, they watch it, so we don't have to. And I'm just like, how do you know that what they think is going to match exactly with what you think? I was just talking to somebody else. What movie were we talking about? Todd Williams' Cell. It's a Stephen King movie. Everybody said it sucked. I watched it. We covered it on the channel this past week. I thought it was pretty decent. 3 out of 5 I gave it. But
probably found something that you enjoy in it. There's those films out there. A lot of people say it suck, but then you can find something to enjoy about it.
Yeah, and how long has Hollywood been putting out shitty movies that have proven to be enjoyable? I'm like, did people completely miss the 80s? That's all Hollywood.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's kind of like, expect the shitty movie. I mean, say Lucio Fulci puts out The Exorcist. What are you going to expect? You're going to expect a Lucio Fulci movie. You're going to see that scene where Burke Dennings is up in the bedroom and he's getting his head turned around while Reagan's poking his eyes out.
But
like Lucio Fulci in his eyes thing, gouging him out. We got to see that for sure. That way she's got something to grab onto while she's turning the guy's head and throwing him out the window. We definitely would have seen that.
Sounds like Italian horror to me. That's why I don't watch it. But I mean, a year before these things drop, people are saying, it's dead on arrival. And guess what? You've got 1 million people that are just going to, it's like a hamster wheel. You just keep running on the wheel. Sure, whatever you say, you're going to make up my mind for me. Thanks very much. So there's no one reason, I think, why, movies are struggling nowadays. But, I stick to the old way. I go for myself. I see for myself. So far, like I said, upwards of about 15 movies and no problem so far, except for that stupid King Kong movie.
I think this is a great time for independent films.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to follow a lot of these the sensitivity readings and all these little rules that they're setting, the film by committee thing. That's one of the reasons why I put that poll out on who would you want to do the next Exorcist film. Flanagan actually lost out in my poll.
Yeah, it was Ari Aster, wasn't he? The number one.
Yeah.
Which
I like Flanagan's work, but when it came down to Hereditary and some of those shots,
oh yeah,
I could see that happen. I could see that happening with the guy who did the Antichrist too, because it's crazy.
Oh, Lars von Trier
in that.
Yeah, they would never trust Lars von Trier with, $100 million or something like that. They're not going to give Lars von Trier $100 million.
I still have to see the house that Jack built.
Oh, with Matt Dillon.
Yeah, I still have to see that. I've got a copy. I haven't watched it yet. I'm probably going to end up watching it by myself because I don't think my girlfriend can handle it. So I can't watch this. Should be one of those.
Well, I mean, I don't think Ari Aster would take it, and he'd probably say, "I already did that," with Hereditary, which I think may be the greatest horror film of all time. I actually might place it over The Exorcist. It was that good. I would have been interested to see somebody like Eggers take it on. That would be interesting. I'm very curious as to what he's going to do with Nosferatu later this year. Although I'm already a little sick of Bill Skarsgård. He's like the new Pedro Pascal. He's just fucking everywhere, like all the time. I'm just sick of fucking seeing, like he's doing The Crow, which I have no interest in whatsoever.
And then there's that other movie he did, and I can't remember the name of it, where he doesn't talk, but there's a narration.
Oh yeah, Billy Fights the World or something like that.
Not interested in that.
Yeah,
there'd have to be something that would catch my attention on it. There just isn't anything.
I'm kind of tired of that guy. He's fucking everywhere. But
I see him and I think Pennywise anymore.
Yeah, he was good as Pennywise. He was really good. Who did you prefer, him or Tim Curry?
That's hard because Tim Curry put him, it is like two different Pennywises in a way.
It's very true. Yeah, that's So I'm looking here. I mean, what did I see this year? Furiosa. I'm going to go I saw Angel films. I saw a couple of those films like Sight and a couple of others. But let's look at the blockbusters. Furiosa. I gave it 3.5. You know what I really liked that I saw? And I went to see it on the last week that it was playing, and it was it was only playing at like 9:20 at night. And I sat in my middle seat like I always do, and in the next row behind me was a couple. And I just turned down and I turned around and I said, I guess we're really going to watch a really stupid vampire movie. It was that movie Abigail. It was great. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had a great. It was a blast.
I wasn't looking for a popcorn film though.
Oh, it's a total popcorn film. It's got Danzig in the soundtrack. Kevin Durant, and it was just fucking phenomenal. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be stupid. This is a waste of time. I waited for weeks until the last week, and then I went to see it. And I'm like, that was fucking great. It was like 2 hours of just fucking great. The Apes movie just dropped. That was pretty good. I saw that Guy Ritchie movie. Another movie that didn't do well. Again, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That was really good. All right. Civil War. I like that. The first Omen. I saw that Dev Patel indie film, Monkey Man. That was good.
What'd you think of that?
I thought it was good.
Okay.
I thought it was good. Did you not like it?
No, I heard the reviews on it. It's just I haven't had much time going into movie theaters, so it's been a lot of work and trying to work on my own stuff.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to get back on the Hereditary thing, though.
Yeah.
The way he treated the demon in that payment made more sense than what Green did.
No,
definitely
shit.
made more sense.
Oh yeah,
he was following rules on that.
Expand on that, please. What do you mean?
Well, like on the whole, the little hints that you caught that followed Payman. You know, I had to go back and watch this other video on the background on Payman, and it made more sense watching that to understand some of the scenes. It's like, oh, okay, you know, a lot of the things that were going on there. You go to like Believer, and they've got Lamash 2, which I think the only reason they did that was because of the whole association with Pazuzu thing. Doesn't even look like Lamash 2. You know, they do this thing with the horns and the wings and 3 eyes. I've never seen any depiction of Lamash 2 like that. You know, it was kind of like to me, I hate to say it was very half-ass. That
absolutely
depiction of Lamash 2 for me looked like it came out of Legend with the old Tom Cruise film. It looked like one of the things you'd see out in the woods or whatever that swamp was, you know, going to go see darkness. Yeah. You know, probably would have run into that. That's the impression I got. And so it's like, there was a lot put into that. And I don't understand why Blumhouse, I keep saying Blumhouse couldn't follow suit. Why didn't they put that? I don't think there was much effort put into it. Yeah. They just kind of kept it under, you know, it's like subcontracted film. Okay, here you go. You know,
I disagree with you a bit. I think that they did. They just absolutely handed it to someone who didn't understand what he was supposed to do.
I don't even know if he knows how to direct.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to direct anybody in a film, are you going to allow them to improvise their scenes? He did that. He admitted that. I can't see Friedkin doing something like that.
No.
He was very particular.
Friedkin is a real director.
This guy is like, okay, go look up possession online. You know, they even talked about this, and it's like, okay, percentages of being possessed. There's no mention of the 5, like integration and all this other stuff in the whole possession process. There's no mention of that. There's just way too many weird scenes that didn't make any sense, like that one gal being under her bed. She improvised that, doing the snake thing. She's got straps on her bed. Nobody was strapped down at all. They had straps on the bed, even at that girl's house, that other girl's house.
Right.
Why do you have straps if she's not in them?
Yeah.
Why are you cowering in your own house? You know?
when
Chris McNeil walked in there, I thought the girl killed everybody off in the house. But
they're
no,
all
she's
just
up there,
hanging
everybody
out.
else huddled, that kind of
stuff.
It's and the mom reminded me of the mom from Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper's mom. A real religious one. She even sounds like her. It's like, is that where she got her influence? But it just wasn't. I don't know. It's just didn't feel like there was that much effort put in. I don't know if it was the director's fault or he was told to do this. That's the problem I have. It's like when you got a movie that's a film by committee. Okay, we're gonna let her do this. You know,
I would largely say that it rests on David Gordon Green. I just think he didn't understand what he was supposed to do. He came off of these Halloween films and thought that it was the same thing.
No.
And it's not. But you know, in his defense, and I'm not actually coming to his defense, maybe we've talked about this. You know, most Exorcist films miss the mark. Some places, some come closer than others. So there's always the argument, does this need to happen at all? But that is worse than The Heretic, I would say. It's worse than The Heretic. That is a terrible, terrible movie.
It's actually got me curious what the film would have been had they not rewritten the script so many times. I feel like it was a film that wasn't meant to be made, but they made it anyway.
Could we say that about? I mean, the closest they've come is the third movie, and it was written and directed by Blatty. Guess what? Based off source material from the Legion novel. But past that, I mean, they got the first season of the TV series right.
No, I wouldn't have said Chris write that book. She would never have done that. She never would have wrote that book. There were no protesters outside her house. 6 weeks in, there's still nobody outside there in the original film. That was kept under. There was no way to find out what was going on. That wouldn't have happened. Plus Pazuzu wouldn't have been able to repossess Reagan at all. That's the reason why Karras jumped out the window, because he knew that. You don't know that in the film, but it's knowledge in the novel. That's how it ended. He needed that no return clause.
Yeah, I don't care. I know you don't. Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really care. Yeah, I'm not.
Otherwise, he would have just left his body and got right back into Reagan again.
I have to have a reasonable line of what I can, consume to be enjoyable. And if I have to start picking that kind of stuff out, then that's further than I'm willing to go. Whether or not I feel Chris McNeil would have written the book or not, I didn't have any problem in terms of my suspension of disbelief.
I did.
Yeah, I didn't.
Mike Blatty had that same feeling too. He laughed about it when I told him about it.
Well, he's Mike Blatty. So, but I mean, outside of the 1% who might feel that way, when you feel how you feel, I thought they did a really solid job. I thought they really did a really solid job with it. I didn't have any problem necessarily. Yeah, I didn't have any problem at all with Pazuzu retaking Reagan. I thought it was a really great twist to find out that was actually Reagan again, and enjoyed the hell out of it. Not so much the second season, because then it started to veer off into
they had to go somewhere.
Uncharted territory. You could have left it alone, and I understand that they tried.
They didn't intend to do that. I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't do the miniseries. They wanted a series they could just keep going.
Well, nothing now is allowed to die a dignified death. And I just watched a really good HBO series called, having nothing to do with the paranormal, called Tokyo Vice. And it's the story of the first Westerner, this American kid who's the first hire at a Japanese newspaper, this prestigious Japanese newspaper covering the crime section. And it's really fantastic. It's got Ken Watanabe. He's one of the police officers. He's kind of the star along with this kid. And it's set in the 90s, too. So it's got this bitchin' 90s soundtrack. They've canceled it after 2 seasons. But at the end of the second season, the story that's been progressing from the first episode all the way to the end of the second season concludes. So it's reached the natural end of its storyline. So I'm like, yeah, let it go. You don't have to keep adding things on. You'd have to restart an entire new storyline and then hope that the quality held up. So I'm perfectly okay with it. It's like, what's that other show? Shogun. Like Shogun ended after 1 season and now they want to bring it back. I'm like, the novel's over with. Like, what are you doing? But nothing is allowed to
stop anybody.
Yeah, it looks like they're coming back for a second season. I'm like, sure. Second season of what? Like, he's become the Shogun. That's the whole thing. You're going to have some palace intrigue. And a lot of the main characters that you loved are dead. Like, what are you doing? You know, but gotta turn over a buck. How can we capitalize on this success, as I always say? So,
well, it's like Warner Brothers was interested in a sequel right away
to
The Exorcist. You know, that's a perfect example. They saw the money flowing in, they want more money.
Well, that's what Borman did.
It's like, do it again. Do it again.
He was making a cheap sequel. And, you know, that's what The Omen is to me. It's just an Exorcist hangover. The Omen is just an Exorcist hangover to me. Like, we got the devil. We need a little kid. What are we going to do? Okay, we'll make this kid the Antichrist. And I'm like, it's fucking stupid. Like, this isn't scary. You know, some kid who just, you know, makes some face like this. And I'm like, what is this? You know, like, this is just dumb. So, yeah, that was all part of an Exorcist hangover as far as I was concerned. That could have carried on all the way to Amityville Horror, although that's actually based on the DeFeo murders and the Jay Anson novel. But, I mean, that's stupid, too. You know, it's like, was it James?
Yeah, the dad in that, and the real dad sure does look like Ryan Reynolds, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I never saw the sequel because I never wanted to watch. I watched the original one when I first started this channel, and that was another one. I had this thread called Something Shitty This Way Comes, and I would just talk about shitty movies. And then I realized I would actually have to watch shitty movies to talk about them, so I discontinued the thread after 3 or 5 movies. But one of them was the Amityville Horror, and it's James Brolin. I'm like, it's James Brolin staring at a fireplace. Like, that's what he does half the movie. I'm like, this isn't scary. And the Donner's Omen film was another one that I did. I'm like, this isn't scary. And I'm like, Gregory Peck is too old in this movie. They should have hired someone younger. I understand they wanted to have someone with some gravitas, but I'm like, he's a geezer at this point. Although who the hell knows, he might have been, my age now that he was back then. It's just, people didn't look quite so young. But
yeah, I don't know how young you would want him being an ambassador.
I think Liev Schreiber was an appropriate, a young ambassador, a young youthful ambassador. Liev Schreiber, Julia Stiles, that worked for me. That worked just fine. Yeah, that didn't bother me in the least. That had a good cast too. Yeah, Pete Postlethwaite. And I forget the guy who had David Warner's role. I can't remember his name, but he's always good. He's always good. I can't remember, but that was a good movie too. So I don't know. We've sort of veered off on several tangents.
Sure,
that's fine. But I mean, religious horror. It's been a thread now for 50 plus years, and it seems like the era of the slasher is kind of over, or the franchise, characters that we're familiar with, and religious horror is back on top, and it might stay that way. I get the impression we might get, who knows, they might risk another Omen movie. I would watch it. I enjoyed that first
movie. Yeah, I can see it happening.
Yeah, so could I.
See it happening.
Yeah, bringing him, what's he doing now? And now he's got a sister. So
yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
They have, I thought, once that film came out and I watched it, it was like, it seems like every intention of coming up with sequels after that. It just feels like it's going to happen.
Well, it's horror.
Definitely.
So, I mean, yeah, it's the rare film in horror that isn't set up for a franchise or isn't hoping for a franchise.
I think they are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, if you're talking about in terms of The Witch, it's just a one-off.
Yeah. The Exorcist should have been a one-off as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But Warner Brothers didn't see it that way. And it's my favorite story from Mike was the one where he told me when he was over there at Georgetown University. He's 21 years old at the time, and his dad comes up to visit him. And he says that Warner Brothers wants me to write a sequel. And then knowing how much money they made on it, Mike was like, "You're going to do it, right?" And his dad was like, "Son, I've already written The Exorcist. Why should I do it again?" He didn't bother to write a sequel. He went on and did a story about his mom.
I think
I
what a
mean,
lot of
when
people
he did,
also,
he was going through a crisis of faith anyway.
yeah, that's what I was just about to talk about. I think a lot of people sort of skip over that. That this was all sort of a process for his search for God.
Mhm. It was
It
kind of like
wasn't
his own personal thing.
yeah,
You
it
know, it's
wasn't
like he
this,
started with the film, it started with the idea, but then he kind of inserted himself as Father Karras, and then it's probably the best thing he did too, because it's like write what you know,
yeah,
and he did that. He did that with Chris McNeil being Shirley MacLaine, and that Burke Dennings was actually based on another director that he knew, and some of the lines that came out in the novel actually were spoken by the real people. And one thing that Mike pointed out to me regarding Reagan, he believes that his dad based Reagan not on Shirley MacLaine's daughter, but actually on his own, Mary Jo, because of
okay.
all the things that were happening during the divorce, how she was reacting to his own divorce.
Reagan McNeil is very much a child of divorce.
And
Chris
so,
is not
and
a
it's
bad
funny.
mom, but she's just absent. Like there's nobody there.
She's trying.
Yeah, she's trying.
We'll put it
Yeah,
that way.
she's not a terrible mom. It's just she's working, and the kids just left to hang around the house all day.
And I can probably believe it. I don't know how Mary Jo was as a child, but she was very much into art. So I can see that. I actually wanted to get her on my channel, but she had already passed away back 2018. So that kind of bites.
Those are factors that you can't duplicate. You can't duplicate those types of things. There are things that are happening in a person's life. That piece of art isn't created for the purpose of
replicating.
Yeah, for replicating or for selling, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from a different place, and I think that's largely I think that is one of the major reasons why almost all of the Exorcist's follow-up has failed.
Mm-hmm.
You get Legion, and you get Exorcist 3, you get a halfway decent attempt from Schrader. I enjoyed this first season of the television series, but you've got 2, and then you've got Beginning, and then you've got the second season of this, and then you get Believer. But it's going to keep going on because they just paid $400 million for the rights to the franchise. They have to. Mm-hmm. You can't spend $400 million on something and not do anything with it.
I think it's kind of like $400 million for the 3 films or the trilogy that they're trying to make.
Well, it's for the rights to everything, isn't it? That was my understanding.
Well, definitely not the rights to the original.
So that
the
isn't
sequels and whatnot. Blumhouse only got like the sequels and whatnot, and paid Blatty way less. I think it was like almost I think Mike told me it was like closer to $4 million.
Really?
Just for Blatty. Blatty sure would if he had lasted long and it had been the other way around, where Universal comes around and grabs it for $400 million, he probably would have sold it right to Universal. That would have been great for him.
Yeah.
But he was hurting for money at the time, from what I understand. He was pretty broke. So
he was a real artist. He was a real writer. He was a real yeah.
And my whole channel started off just as an Exorcist rant. Now it's kind of going more toward it's not just the Exorcist. It's Blatty's life being reflected in everything else that he did. That's what I'm looking at now anymore. Kind of like all his influences and whatnot. It's got me interested, looking back in his other works, like Ninth Configuration. That's a great film.
Yeah, with Stacy Keach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
psychiatric hospital.
what I love is Blatty's own cameo in the film. I when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Bill Blatty right there." You know, I've seen him a couple times in there. You know, he's got the doctor's coat on.
A
Keith
lot
doesn't
of his,
realize he's not a doctor.
even his lesser works are still enjoyable. Whether it be was a Demeter,
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, those were
Mm-hmm.
all. Those were all.
Finding Peter's good.
I haven't tried that one. Okay.
I actually got some stuff out of that.
Okay. Right.
Related to The Exorcist. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like you can see reflected back.
Okay. I'll take a look at it. Finding Peter. All right. All right. So, of all the efforts that have happened after 73, I think what we're going to get from Flanagan will be the best of them.
Well, we can hope so. For me, it's too early to say anything until we get to the bridge. You know, I'd like to know what he has in mind.
I don't think he's going to reveal. I don't think he's going to reveal much.
No.
I don't think he's going to reveal much. But I mean, if he took on Doctor,
it's hard to say.
Hold on. Hold on a second. If he took on Doctor Sleep, which I thought in the first place was a waste of time. You're never going to be able to write a sequel to The Shining. But I mean, especially his director's cut. I just watched Doctor Sleep the other day. His director's cut. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Not just the theatrical is good, but the director's cut is just amazing. So he's worked on big projects before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't have the benefit of, you know, source material like from Stephen King or in this case from Blatty.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if I see him doing work like Midnight Mass, or I see him doing work like, did you see The Fall of the House of Usher?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Hush is just one of my favorite, films that nobody talks about. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's good. It's good. I'm confident, and I'm looking forward to what he's going to put out. Looking forward to it a lot.
I can be confident in the director. I'm just not confident when it comes to producers.
I believe in this instance.
As long as they leave him alone and let him do his job, I will be fine.
Believer made over 110 million, I think, in like the first 10 days, and then it just died. Now I don't know what it did on video on demand, and then they had that thing where they were going to charge you before Halloween $30 to watch it. I'm like, nobody's fucking.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
$30. I'm like, nobody's paying $30 to watch this. But I mean, the initial reaction, whether it was just the horror community saying, fuck it, we're going to carry it, because it only had like a $30 million budget, I think. And it made over $100 million. So I remember talking to people that were bagging it, you know, some bigger channels. And I'm like, well, if it makes $100 million, is that considered a success? And they're like, well, they would have to, you know, the movie studios would have to, you know, consider that themselves. He goes, but, you know, critically, it just got bombed.
Now it's like what, free on Prime?
It's on Peacock. And
well, I've seen it on Prime. I think it's for free.
Oh, really? I've seen it on Peacock, and I can't bring myself to watch it. Although maybe I should. I don't know. Hold on a second here. Yeah, $136 million. They made $65 million domestic, $71 million international. The budget was $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
So it made some money, but it was just so critically panned that they pulled him, and they should have. He should have. First, I heard that he was still going to be in the Green was going to be in the production but he was stepping away from the director's chair, and I'm like, get him away from everything. Just like, run him out of town on a rail, do something. And then, that he'd been completely removed from the project. And I think he's, just gone away to kind of lick his wounds.
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
I think now the best thing they could have done was do a hard reset.
I don't think this is going to have anything to do with his previous film.
No, I won't.
Which is a good thing. It's a good thing. All right. Is there anything? What?
Oh, just the all right. I was just laughing at that.
No. Is there anything that we have not discussed? I mean, we've been going a little over an hour. Is there anything we have not discussed that you would have liked to bring up?
I'm going to think hard because there's always something, and then I'm going to remember later.
Yeah, son of a bitch. God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I mean, maybe we could connect or something after the exorcism. I'm looking forward to it. The 2019 thing makes me now kind of pause because I'm like, now we may be getting boxes checked. We'll see. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious on what's going on with that the exorcism film. Actually, I'm curious if they cut anything out from the original 2019 or changed anything. Seems like they're always doing reshoots for something. For me, it's too early to really put any opinion on Flanagan's. Not until we kind of get a little further on down the line on how the movie's progressing. I'm curious who's going to be for the new one. I don't think they have. They pulled the one for Deceiver. Obviously, that was supposed to have been, I think, April 18th. And at the time, I think that was a Good Friday.
Hold on.
I think.
No, they're not saying.
It'll probably be 25.
They're saying, April 18th.
Is it still going to be April 18th?
2025 deadline.
Deceiver.
This is from. Hold on, now I gotta skip this stupid.
And don't trust IMDb. They also said that Believer was going to be directed by Friedkin, and he got pissed.
Yeah, I believe that he would be.
Oh yeah, he tweeted about that shit. That was funny. I don't know if they have a release date. I mean, or a promise date. But it would be nice.
No. That was for Deceiver. It was for Deceiver. Yeah. I don't think they have a release date.
That was a Good Friday, wasn't it? April 18th of that year, 2025.
Maybe. I don't know. We may get something closer to. I mean, you haven't heard anything about anything casting or anything like that.
No, I haven't seen anything.
That was another thing. That was another thing that I didn't like about Green. You didn't know anybody in the damn film. The big pull was supposed to be Chris McNeil, and she was absolutely useless. And then they had the audacity to bring Linda Blair back in for 30 seconds at the end. I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing? I
think they shoehorned that in there. I think they had the film kind of figured out, and then they kind of shoehorned Chris McNeil into the film in the sense that, okay, if she didn't show up, we still had a film. If she did, we still know how to put her in. I think they just kind of put a bow on that. That part's done. I don't know if Flanagan would want to try to bring her back under different circumstances in his film.
I hope not. Well,
or even Reagan or Linda Blair.
What is he saying? A radical new direction.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of scary, isn't it?
No. Actually, I trust.
I don't like the word radical. I don't like the word radical in the sense that, when we didn't have this whole sensitivity thing going on, radical would have been fine. But when you hear radical now with the whole sensitive reading and all these people, too many hands in the pot, it kind of throws me. But like I said, if maybe it'll take a couple more interviews, hopefully we get some more interviews later on, kind of get a sense of what's going on. That would be great.
I don't think that he would attach himself to something like that.
Hard to say.
It's his
Hard to say
reputation.
whoever you're working for, you know?
No, because I think it's his obviously it's his reputation too.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not going to attach yourself to something that's, you know, just going to drag your name through the mud on what is arguably the biggest project of your career.
Sure.
You know, you
Sure. Well, look at Solo. Ron Howard couldn't even save it. They hired Ron Howard. He had to write like what 80%, redo 80% of that film. He couldn't even save it.
Well, I hate to say
But
it,
then
but
he's a long time ago.
Star Wars has been mid since Empire. Anything after Empire is hit or miss. Well, by the time you got to Jedi, Lucas was clearly, Lucas was clearly in the marketing phase of things.
Sure, he's done.
Yeah,
it's like
okay, like everything. Some things have worked, some things have not. You know, but you know, I think you know these hardcore Star Wars fans. They look at everything through rose-colored glasses, and it's only today that sucks. I'm like, no, buddy. You know, I was there back in '82, and I'm like, why the fuck are these teddy bears in the middle of them? You know, like, what is this? It turned into lunch boxes.
Sure.
You know, and I hate to tell everybody now, but the prequels sucked. There was a Clone War. There were Clone Wars with no Clone War. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Where's the war? You know, now, and you know, this is, you know, the diehards don't like to hear this, but it was Filoni that fleshed out the entirety of the Clone Wars and made the prequels kind of watchable again because you had some context for these things that you just didn't understand in, you know, these other three movies. You know, so yeah, you know, Star Wars, you know, some people think, you know, yeah, well, I explained it, but Solo is, yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But
and just backing up on April 18th, it was a Good Friday, or it's going to be a Good Friday.
I don't think we'll get it that soon now.
No.
You know, obviously he has to. This is going to be a project for him. I think he's really going to, and I think Blumhouse will leave him alone.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think because it's him. You know, it's like, leave him the fuck alone. You know, and you know,
definitely.
Yeah, leave him alone, and it's going to make money. It's going to make money. So
it's a little. It's too early for me to really have an opinion yet. I mean, pretty much they just got Flanagan. So,
who are the other people in your poll? Eggers?
Off the top of my head, let's see. I forget what's her name. The one that did the first Omen. I forget her name.
Oh, really? You got her? Okay.
Yeah, I put her in there because I thought she did really well. You know, other than the slight retcons and whatnot in the story, I did enjoy the first Omen very much. You know, I could see where they take a different direction. You know, they'll probably follow a different tangent.
Yeah.
And but I thought the film, the photography was great, but I think that's part of her background too in photography.
It was very beautifully shot.
Yeah.
It was some of those scenes were like when she gets caught up in the riot. It's beautiful to watch. You're like, wow, this is really fucking like there's a difference between a horror director and like a real director. You know, I hate to say it if you know what I mean. You know, and if you get a real director that's doing horror, then you know, then you're in for something, which I think is what you got with Ari Aster, and to varying degrees with the things that he's done, you know, to follow up, whether it be Midsommar or was it Beau is Afraid, which really wasn't a horror movie. And I think this next one he's going to do is a comedy. So we shall see. But all right. Anything else you wanted to touch base on? No, Magic 8 Ball. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have that. I'll have to get one.
You'll have to get one for the next.
I think we should regroup after the Exorcism comes out, and kind of you know, both see it and state what we thought about it.
Yeah, I'm not expecting fireworks.
A lot.
Yeah, I'm not actually. It looks kind of vague. You know, I can't. But who knows? I could be wrong. And you know, Russell Crowe usually doesn't miss. Can you think of many bad Russell Crowe movies?
No, but I'm still on this whole thing. Anytime I see him in the trailer, I keep thinking the Pope's Exorcist. You know, it's like too soon. This
I
pops up. This one pops up in between the Pope's Exorcist and any sequel that's supposed to come along. You know,
I
to me,
am
it's a little
looking
too
for.
soon.
Well, I mean, you're never going to get it out because he's got probably two more Pope's Exorcist films coming, so that's easily another
Sure.
5 years. And then by then it's 2029, and they're not going to drop a 10-year-old movie.
Hmm.
So I'm not exactly sure why this movie was not dropped in 2019 or maybe it's something that got stuck on the shelf during COVID, during the
That
lockdowns.
could
My
be.
understanding, a lot of films. I heard that there were a ton of films that were like ready to be released, and they all just got swept off the table during the lockdowns.
Yeah,
Um,
that could have been too. It's
yeah,
just
there's
kind
a
of weird that, you had the Pope's Exorcist come out and then all this one comes out and he's got all this like hair on top of his head. And, just watching these scenes and even with the name Anthony Miller, and I'm not familiar with the director's, any of his other work.
okay.
I probably have to look it up. But
Maybe he's making a full turn into horror. It looks like.
but then
I
I don't
like
know,
the
is he
Pope.
directing? I can't remember if he directed that.
What, the Exorcism?
Joshua Miller, did he? Oh, he's directed by Joshua John Miller. Okay, so he did direct it. Okay, I just want to make
Okay.
sure that was before I jump on that. I thought maybe he just wrote it, but
Troubled actor
yeah,
begins to unravel while
yeah, he
shooting a
wrote it and
horror.
directed it. Okay, yep.
His estranged daughter wonders if she's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play. Now, IMDb is giving it 4.7 out of 10.
It hadn't even come out yet.
Yeah, I know they're already. And I'm looking, 4.7 out of 10, and 53% of Google users. I don't know how they're doing that.
Yeah.
They can't. I mean, usually, you don't get to screen it that early.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, don't get.
Maybe they did have a screening and they just never released or something. I don't know.
We shall see. I'm enjoying him playing Father Amorth. I mean, I enjoyed that episode we did with the Freakin' documentary, The Devil and Father Amorth. That was interesting. So if he comes back with 2 more movies, I'm up for it. He's not treating it super serious. It's not super dark. He's like this priest cracking jokes. And, I think that was maybe a little bit of who Amorth was.
There was a podcast of Friedkin talking about Amorth before I think he ever met him. And it was about like 2013.
Okay.
And he made a comment about how many exorcisms Amorth had done. And he said he's giving exorcism a bad name.
Oh, really?
What did he say? He wasn't. He was very skeptical about Father Amorth at the time.
Okay.
So something must have changed along the way. From
there are always skeptics about these sorts of things. Or you look at podcasts like the Exorcist Files, with Carlos Martins, and these sorts of things. Who knows? There are varying degrees of belief. Is this case legit? Is that case legit? The people that I had on, one guy runs a channel that's run by. Or a sort of co-run with another priest who supposedly was a student of Father Amorth, that said that the Friedkin documentary was very Hollywood. He didn't think of the devil and Father Amorth. That Friedkin had kind of played it up too much, to be like a horror movie instead of a documentary.
I can see that.
Yeah, so there are lots of varying, opinions out there about exorcisms and what's legit and what's not. It's a bizarre thing, and there are tons. There are a couple of, exorcists nowadays that go public. Carlos Martins is one. There's another guy out there. You'll see him on podcasts like Pints with Aquinas. Going on for 2 or 3 hours, anecdotal stuff, this, that, or the other. And then they say there are some people that, you'll never know, what it is that they do. So varying degrees of belief and disbelief. All right. Let's bring it to a close. My thanks to Baron Von D. over there at Exorcist Reviews. Give his YouTube channel a look. I'm going to put the link to the description in the video. And thank you again for your time today. It was kind of a ramble, bullshit conversation, but that's kind of what I do here, and I'm okay with it. So I hope that was okay with you.
Oh no, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. We did kind of cover a couple things coming up, and that's great. When it comes down to that exorcism thing, I think we should regroup and kind of review the film and give each a rating. Give out our own rating on it.
Sounds real good. So that's only
a few weeks away. We can Ebert this thing.
Yeah. Save us the aisle seats. That's
there you go. Bring your popcorn.
Yeah, sounds real good to me. All right. My thanks to you for taking the time once again. I will be back on Thursday as we continue with the summer of Stephen King. I'm just covering Stephen King because his film adaptations are just fun. And we're going to be going at it with Tobe Hooper's Salem's Lot. So that's going to be a fun one. I haven't seen that in a long time. So I'm looking forward to screening it again, even though it's 3 hours long and it scared the shit out of me as a little kid.
Now, that's just the television one, right?
Yeah.
You're covering any of the miniseries ones. That was a miniseries, wasn't it? And then they kind of spliced it together to make a film.
Yeah, it was a two-night CBS special.
Yeah, that was great.
It scared the daylights out of him when that little kid the little glick boy comes scraping at the window of his friend, right. Let me in. The first
I like to refer to it as the James at 15 holiday special.
That's exactly right.
Put the music on there, whoa, James, whoa, James. That thing. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Lance Kerwin just passed away, quite recently, within the past year or so, or something like that. James Mason, I thought he was terrifying as Straker, and when I this was too young for me to have seen any Max Schreck films or Herzog's, so I had never seen a Nosferatu before, and that they went with a Nosferatu look on Barlow scared the Jesus out of me. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to covering that on Thursday with a couple of friends. My thanks to Exorcist Reviews. We will see you all.
Question. Not to interrupt, but a question on that. Are you going to review? You review the 70s one, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to review the one with Rob Lowe?
Hadn't planned on it.
No,
it's a difficult thing because the people that I have on are kind of they're regulars. I have regulars, and then I bring on somebody now and
well,
again.
No. I mean, you're gonna be reviewing the Stephen King films. Okay, you got you've got the 70s version of Salem's Lot, but you also have the one with Rob Lowe.
Yeah, and Rutger Hauer.
Be doing that one?
No.
Yeah.
No. Did you like that one?
I don't know. It was different. I missed having the Nosferatu vampire and the scratching at the windows. I don't recall seeing that in the Rob Lowe version.
And Andre Braugher was the teacher that was friends with Mears and somehow he was gay and he was attracted to the vampire that was to Mike that was the guy in the rocking chair and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then Rutger Hauer was good in that he was more accurate or closer to the Barlow in the book.
Right.
He was a little closer that way. He wasn't just some feral thing. He was this very, Dracula sort of, articulate vampire. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. But I haven't seen it in so long. I really don't remember it anymore. My heart is sort of with the original.
The 70s one?
Yeah,
that's one I grew up with, and that's one I remember. That's one of my favorites.
I always thought Bonnie Bedelia was a hottie. So she plays Susan Norton and, all these other people. So, yeah, that's probably the one we're going to go with.
Now, the Stephen King thing, was that something you already started?
Yeah, we just covered.
How did I miss that? I'm not getting my notifications.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to have to check my settings.
Hold on a second. Because we just covered.
I'm curious what your thoughts were on The Shining, the Kubrick Shining, and then the Stephen King miniseries Shining.
I never saw the one with Oh God, what's his name? With Rebecca De Mornay and who's
Hmm.
the guy who plays Jack?
I can see his face. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
so I can't remember his name. Um, I liked um, I liked Kubrick's movie. I think it's good. It's not one of my top 10 favorite like all time horror movies or anything like
Hmm.
that. Um, but I was okay with it. I was okay with it. Why? What did you think?
Well, I'm just curious what your in your opinion the difference between those two. You know, the miniseries and the film. Which
It
one
was
you would
closer to the book.
prefer,
I heard the
basically?
miniseries was closer to the book, and that there's less focus on Jack Torrance and more focus on Danny, which is kind of what the book is about. You know, the hotel wants Danny. Um,
I kind of
but
like the way Tony's perceived with the finger more than I do with the floating Encyclopedia Brown kid.
oh yeah, okay, okay. Is does that actually happen? Okay,
In the miniseries, yeah, they have him floating, but if I remember right in the book, it was kind of like he was like behind him, and he was like you just couldn't really see him or something like that. I forget how they depicted Tony in the book,
yeah, I can't remember either.
but he was
I
kind of like
remember.
this strange kind of.
I remember he said, you know, he's talking from behind him or something, or like he's
Yeah, maybe
inside
it's like
my
looking
mouth
in
or
the
something.
mirror and he couldn't quite make him out.
Yeah, it's actually
Something like
him,
that.
right? It's him.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah,
older
and that's how
him.
they right, and they show that in the miniseries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kubrick's film, I think, obviously focuses on Nicholson.
Mhm.
And that's kind of why I thought it was like I liked what Flanagan did in Doctor Sleep when they go back to the Overlook and they've got Henry Thomas playing Jack Torrance. And I always felt that Henry Thomas, I like Henry Thomas. I'm a Henry Thomas fan. I always felt that Thomas was channeling Jack Torrance and not Jack Nicholson. And
Mhm.
that's why I liked it. Um, you know, I think Henry Thomas has enough experience under his belt not to try to, you know, be Jack, that
Right.
kind of because that's not
Doesn't
going
try
to
to do
work.
the eyes and all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That doesn't work,
Start talking like this and
Yeah, yeah, and he just played it. It's almost like talking to a computer. It only
Mhm.
can repeat what the hotel will allow him to say. And Ewan McGregor's trying to talk to him like it's his father, and it's not. It's not his father. It's the hotel. Just talking to him again after all those years. But we just did Frank Darabont's The Mist,
Okay.
so that was fun to talk about. And then we did Cell, which was interesting. It could have been better. Had a lot of holes in the story, but you had Cusack and Sam Jackson. So sometimes you can get a film without the greatest script, but the performers could do some lifting and make it better. And that's kind of what they did. And so at some point, we're going to do Salem's Lot next week.
How about Pet
Um,
Cemetery?
I'm not a fan of Pet Cemetery. No, not a fan of Pet Cemetery. I think it's a bad movie. I think it's a
Which one?
bad. Both of them. I saw the
Okay.
remake too. For my friend Eric, who's like a hardcore Stephen King fan, I think that's his favorite Stephen King movie. I can't stand it. I can't. The one thing that scares me is the girl on the bed who's got spina bifida or something, meningitis or something, and she kind of does that close up where she runs into the camera,
Right.
like that
And
kind of
it was
freak.
a guy that played
Oh, was it? Paid the
Zelda.
sister?
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of freaked me out. When I saw the remake, I was impressed with that quick shot they gave of the Wendigo.
Mhm.
He sort of sees it like in the periphery. It's like this thing that's just walking in step with him. Can't quite
Mhm.
get a good look at it. I enjoyed that, but otherwise, no, I didn't. I didn't like it. Like he's done a couple movies that people like that I just don't like. I don't like Christine. I,
Okay,
I
so
don't
these
think
are
he
going to be the films that you won't cover, right?
Yeah, I don't think you could do an effective movie about a killer car in
Right. How
in a,
about
in a, in a
Cat's
visual
Eye?
medium. No.
You're not going to
Here's
do Cat's Eye.
I'll give you the list. What we've
Oh,
got so
okay.
far. We've got Thinner. Thinner's
Okay.
coming. I'm looking forward to Thinner. I think that's his scariest concept. 1408. Uh,
Okay. Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna
good.
do we're gonna do the Shawshank at some point. Maybe towards the end. Maybe at the end we'll wrap it up with the Shawshank. Dolores Claiborne.
Mhm.
We're going to do The Green Mile,
Okay. Mhm.
Needful Things,
Mhm.
Night Flyer.
Mhm.
I haven't seen it, but I'm curious. I don't see how it could be bad. I want to see Hearts in Atlantis. I don't see how
Hmm.
Anthony Hopkins can be. It's Anthony Hopkins. Like, how can it? Well, look at that Wolfman movie. So, all right, maybe. We're going to do Stand By Me.
I was just thinking that one. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to do 1922
Mhm.
with Thomas Jane. That's a good one.
Yep.
And we're going to do Creepshow. We're going to do
Okay.
Creep because we've done some King already. We've done The Shining. We've done Doctor Sleep. I mean, this is just random, throughout. Hey, let's
What
do.
about Carrie?
We've done Carrie.
Oh, you already done Carrie. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's that
I had to reach
maybe one
back
of.
and think.
That's so good. That's so good. De Palma, that one shot where he and her and William
Oh,
Cat are just dancing, and they just do that roundabout shot. It's fantastic.
Did you already review the remake?
No,
Okay. So no
no.
remakes, just the originals?
So far,
Okay.
we haven't done Firestarter.
Okay.
Firestarter was. I remember Firestarter being okay. I only saw it once. I saw it in the theater. I don't. I barely remember it.
Mhm.
What else have we done? We did Silver Bullet.
Mhm.
We did Children of the Corn, which is just god awful.
And all its sequels.
I'll never understand. As God is my witness, I will never understand why they just didn't remake this. Why they just didn't make the short story. The short story is terrifying. They just pull into the town and they're just immediately set upon by these kids. They get his wife out of the car. He spends the rest of the book trying to find his wife. By the time he gets to the cornfield, she's already been crucified in the
Right.
cornfield. She's got stalks. They've put stalks of corn in her eye sockets because she's been, horribly mangled. The thing that walks in the corn, or whatever they call it, punishes the kids because they don't get them both. So he decreases the age of sacrifice, and it ends with one of them having, or like these kids that were in charge and thought they had another year, they're forced to walk into the corn. You've got the wife or the mate of one of the oldest kids. She wants to burn the cornfield down. Like she's just sick of it. But she's too afraid to do it. And I just thought that's just a masterclass of a short story. And for some reason, they've never made that story. Like, how hard is that? You have
How close did
there.
it get to the remake? Or how close was the remake to the original story? I mean, I read the short story a long time ago. I don't remember.
The one with Linda Hamilton?
No.
I've never seen any of the other ones. I've never seen any of the other ones.
Well, there was a remake.
There's a thing where it's like a purple fart cloud in the original, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
It's Barney.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But we did it. I think that we did Gerald's Game.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald's Game was interesting. Gerald's Game is an interesting movie. And I like.
I'm not sure if that other Children of the Corn was made for TV or not.
I don't know.
I forget what year that came out. I think I seen it once, and that was it. And I don't
if you'd ever like to join for some of these films, you're welcome to hop in.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. Oh, it came out in no, that's the other one. There was that one that let's see, Children of the Corn. I want to say 2020, but that doesn't sound right because there's that other one with the girl that was like put on the shelf.
You really know your Children of the Corn.
No, I just remember that crap.
I
mean, I've seen the first one and I just skipped everything else. It's kind of like, it just kind of like they drew out certain things, and I think part of it was like in the 80s we rented a lot of films back then, on VHS. You go to the video store and you look for something new. It's like, oh, look at that.
He had such a run at the start, man. I mean, he had De Palma.
I just thought of it. I thought of that. What was that one? Maximum Overdrive. Are you going to do
Oh
that one?
no. We don't cover that. I don't cover that kind of stuff on this channel. Fuck that. No, not even no, but fuck no. But you know what we did cover? We covered, and this is one of my favorites, The Dead Zone.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I forgot that one.
I think that might be Walken's best performance ever. Cronenberg, man.
I can't find it.
He had such a run. I mean, he had De Palma, he had Tobe Hooper, he had Kubrick, he had Cronenberg, he even had Carpenter doing Christine, although I don't like Christine. And then, it started to turn into Children of the Corn and like Maximum Overdrive, and you're just like, what the fuck?
There was a TV movie came out 2009, Children of the Corn.
Did you see it?
I remember parts of it. I think toward the end, both of them died, and was it Isaac that stated that the age had to be changed or raised or something like that when you came to age. I can't remember what that was all about, but like Malachi's girlfriend was pregnant. I remember that. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's in the story.
And this says this film takes place in 1963 and 75. So they come across. I think didn't the husband, he was like a vet or something.
He was a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, and that's in that. And they come across some kind of a book that's got names in it, and listing who crossed over or whatever it was or what time they were supposed to do.
It's been a long time.
The time of fertilization, I think it was called.
Okay, maybe I don't recall. It's been a long time since I read it. What is that? A Night Shift?
I don't know. The first time I read it was in an article in one of these magazines.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's the only time I had seen it, and I was like, oh wow, and it's funny because that's how I came across Legion. I didn't know Blatty had written a sequel to The Exorcist, and it blew me away. I was like, what? And I came across it in like my ex-wife's magazine.
Okay.
It was like Cosmopolitan or something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like, what the? And I see it on the cover. I'm like, what the? And I'm opening it up and I'm looking. I was like, I gotta get this.
It's such a beautiful book. It's such a beautiful story. It's so contemplative, and it's kind of melancholy because Kinderman is just so sad,
mm-hmm.
And he's just so sort of defeated by everything, and he's just so burnt out, and he's just tired of everything, and it's just these thoughts that go through his head, about God and, how God lets all these awful things happen and,
mm-hmm.
So on and so forth. It's just, it's not really a horror story. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
It goes right back on the faith.
Yeah, it's more than that. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's a shame more people don't know what a great writer Blatty is. He's associated with The Exorcist, and I think most people think of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think of the books. They don't think of the books. Hold on, we got one last comment here. Hold on. It's Eric. What's happening, man? Yeah, Children of the Corn is in Night Shift. Yes. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. I'll send you the list. I'll copy and paste the list, and then I'll DM it to you. I don't have the dates yet, but if you have ones that appeal to you, let me know, and then when I do them, I usually do it Thursday night though, so I don't know how that's going to work with your schedule.
What time?
8 p.m. like this time.
Okay, I might jump in late.
Okay.
I might jump in late.
Okay.
Just because I'll be coming home around like maybe an hour into whatever you guys, if you can be willing to wait a little longer.
No. We usually go around, we go over an hour. We go about 90 minutes. We go about 90 because we veer off into whatever.
Minutes.
Yeah, if I know you're coming in, maybe I'll kick it to 8:30 and start like a half hour later or something.
Okay.
Try to give you some time. But I'll send you the list and just tell me if any of those jump out at you. If they don't, that's fine because we're going to connect when Russell Crowe drops his film. But we'll be doing that through Labor Day. So that's going to be good. All right. Thanks to everybody who stopped in, Eric, Slasher Fred. We will see you guys in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime, bro.